Welcome into Sports Tonight. Emily Gagnon here. I'm riding solo tonight, but that doesn't mean anything. We still got a really good show for you. Let's see here, guys. It's Monday, March 25th. I say this all the time, but where has the time gone? We are done with the first round and second round of the NCAA tournament. 16 teams remain, right? So the Sweet 16 is on deck next. I think, we talked about it last week, but I still think the biggest upset of the weekend or of the first and second rounds was Kentucky losing to Oakland. Unfortunately, Oakland did not make it out of the second round. So the Grizzlies will not be the Cinderella story this year. But that was a heck of a game. And I think a lot of people who didn't know who Oakland was now, after just one win, know exactly who that team is, where they're located. Because like I said, I had to look it up to find out where that university was. But Michigan, of all places. So I'm trying to see here, of all the teams that that are left that I would think could win in the Sweet 16 and move on to the Elite Eight. But let's see here. I'm pulling it up real quick just so we can go over some of the matchups that we're going to see. I think a lot of people, though, right now are picking Purdue. Purdue's looking really, really good in this tournament. And I know I have friends who went to Purdue, and every year they seem disappointed in what they do. But with that being said, I think that they have done very well this tournament so far. And so, of all the teams, I probably think that will be one that might have the best chance of making it. I just think that, I say it all the time, this is by far the best time of the year. And brackets are busted, and my mom, she'll tell me after every round like how her bracket looks, and it is so funny to just listen to her talk about the disappointments of which team she picked, which ones she didn't pick, and quite frankly, she has like 10 brackets, and she gives all the brackets different names. So it is really sweet to see, I guess, the not so fan participate in these tournaments. But you have one UConn taking on 5 San Diego State. You have 3 Illinois against 2 Iowa State. 1 North Carolina against 4 Alabama. Alabama, the sole team in the SEC out of 8 still standing. So people in this neck of the woods in Atlanta might be disappointed at that because, again, 8 teams, which it doesn't happen very often, but 8 SEC teams made it into the NCAA tournament. Only 1 remains after the opening weekend. You got 6 Clemson against 2 Arizona, and then you'll have 1 Houston against 4 Duke, 11 NC State against 2 Marquette, 1 Purdue against 5 Gonzaga, and 3 Creighton against 2 Tennessee. Oh, I apologize there. See, 2 SEC teams remain, not just 1. 2 SEC teams. I apologize there because A&M lost yesterday. So there were 3. Now there are 2 in Alabama and Tennessee. So NC State is the only double-digit seed still there, and after them it would be 11 NC State, and then there is 6 Clemson and 5 San Diego State. So that should be very interesting. But guys, we can't talk about the NCAA tournament without talking about the NIT, and I say that because UGA is actually in the 3rd round. They beat Wake Forest yesterday for a second time this season to make it to the 3rd round. So even though they're not dancing, even though it's not the NCAA tournament, UGA still has an opportunity to continue to play during the postseason, which is a big deal, okay? Because that team made some strides this season under Coach White. They finished the regular season with the exact same record as they did last year. However, they were invited to the NIT. They accepted. They wanted to get more experience, and that's exactly what they're getting after beating Xavier in the first round at home, going to Wake Forest yesterday, beating Wake Forest, and now they're taking on Ohio State tomorrow night. So they will have to travel to Columbus. Ohio State's 22-13. Georgia's 19-16. That game tips at 7 tomorrow. But this is pretty cool for UGA because I don't know. Let's see. The last time these two played each other, it's been a minute. I'm going to look to see when's the last time they played each other. But it's giving Georgia an opportunity to go to Columbus, to play at Ohio State, play in front of a rowdy crowd. Again, not the NCAA tournament, but both teams still playing in the postseason and improving for next year. But we heard from Coach White earlier. Let's listen to him and see what he has to say about the upcoming matchup.
I didn't even have no idea. I just know we kept getting good shots, and I don't think they were falling at first, but then they just kept rolling in. So it was like, let's just try to get stops and keep getting good shots on the offensive end.
Is that just like once you guys got started, the momentum started to pick up for you guys in the first half?
Yes, we feel like we was coming off screens and making the right reads. It was like either shoot it or we have an opportunity to, mess up real quick. So we was like, if you're open, shoot it.
When did you guys learn that he wasn't going to be out there today? How does that change things?
I learned in the shoot around. We seen him in the boot. It was like game plan still the same. We still got a game to play, a game to win. So just go out and play hard.
And then, in the second half, what do you see differently out of the Wake Forest defense? Kind of caused
A credit to them. They tuned it up a lot in the second half, and it was harder to find better shots, but we try to get stops so our defense could lead to our offense.
Justin, you're good.
All right. Thank you.
Questions for Mike?
Yeah.
Your team wasn't at full strength either. Was it kind of a battle of attrition, and what kind of adjustments did you have to make in the personnel issues?
Yeah, they're not quite the same team, obviously, without one of the best guards in this, in the ACC, in this league. He's had an amazing year, and they've done a great job with him, as they have their other guys. Wake has probably had as strong an argument to be an NCAA tournament team as anyone. So this was a really big win for us. It was unique in that we were out without Sunahara and Big Russ Chua, who plays a bunch of minutes for us, of course. But I thought our guys rallied around the fact that we were a little bit shorthanded. It's about as hard as we've played in a first half, especially on the road, all year. These kids can continue to compete and try to. In an attempt to lengthen their season. They love playing with one another. They care about one another. And we fought through some foul trouble there, tried to play really deep, and sub liberally in our front court, try to keep guys fresh. And, despite some of the stats, collectively, I thought our front court was really good, against a much improved front court from the first time we played these guys with the addition of Efton Reed, of course. Dylan James, played his best game in his young career. Frank Anselm, to get 8 rebounds in this one on the road against their front court was really productive for us. And I thought M.A. Moncrief played one of his better games this season for us as well.
Was hitting 14 threes today.
I told him to hit 15, so we fell a little short. No, we got pretty good looks early, and they went, and it's about as confident as we've looked, really at home or on the road. We've had a couple home games like that, but we didn't maintain that level of confidence. I like how we finished with that level of confidence from the foul line down the stretch, because that has hurt us, and that's cost us a couple times this year, or a few. But I thought Wake early second half made a statement defensively, and they really sat down and created some empty possessions for us. The crowd became a factor in the second half, of course, and that defense was a lot more stingy.
In the first half, did you get
Yeah. they threw that thing inside and pounded us and generated some whistles, drew some fouls. We weren't quite as clean as we needed to be, and we threw out that zone there at the end of the game to close it, just hoping that they'd miss some jump shots for us. And fortunately, we came down with a couple long defensive rebounds. But, yeah, definitely a different approach for those guys early second half, and it was really productive for them.
You mentioned that Wade
Yeah.
scheduled the home and home with Wade.
Yeah.
To play here.
Yeah.
What exactly is that relationship with Steve?
I've known him a long, long time, had a lot of respect for his ability as a coach. I mean, it goes way, way back, to his junior college days, and competed against each other when he was at East Tennessee State at one point as well, actually in an NCAA tournament. And it's just one of these, the travel isn't too difficult for either team, a regional opportunity to compete and give ourselves opportunities, against high major opponents and computer number opportunities, obviously, for postseason stuff. And these guys, they've had 2 really good years, in a row, and we got a lot of respect for this program. And again, this was to win at Wake. I mean, that's hard, and so albeit in the NIT, I'll take it. This is a good win for us.
All right, guys, welcome back in. That was Coach White. As I said, the Dogs are getting ready for the 3rd round of the NIT. So they've won 2 extra games this postseason. They'll be at Ohio State tomorrow. Again, this is not the NCAA tournament, but it's certainly something that Dog fans, that team should be proud of because, quite frankly, this is something they haven't done in a very long time. They hadn't played in any postseason tournament of any kind since 2017, and now all these years later they finally get to do that, and they've won 2, and now they're going for their 3rd win. The first one was at home, the second one was on the road, this one again on the road, and they'll probably continue to be on the road since they're a 4 seed, Ohio State a 2 seed. But right now, this should give them confidence, not only in this tournament, but it should go into next season. So that's a good thing, and that's really why Coach White wanted to play in this tournament, is to get better, more playing time, more experience for his team entering a new season next year, even though that is a long ways away. Moving on to UGA, spring practice, week 3 rolls on. Let's see, they play their spring game at 1 o'clock. Masters Week, so that will be Saturday, April 13th. I think it's the same day as Alabama's spring game. No coincidence there. Bama's spring game is later with a new head coach for the first time in a long time, so that should be fun. But also Georgia, obviously. One consistent thing that you can depend on, that you can count on this year, will be the quarterback, Carson Beck. We've talked about it several times. We know that he's coming back, and I think he is favored right now to win the Heisman next season. So that's something that should excite fans, should excite him. He's got a ton of deals with NIL. So right now, Carson Beck is one of the hottest players in the country. Hopefully he lives up to the hype. He certainly did a tremendous job last year with UGA. So I can only imagine after an entire year of starting under his belt and this offseason that he'll be even better. There was some trouble in Athens over the weekend. Running back Trevor Etienne was arrested. He faces DUI charge. He is the transfer from Florida, and Coach Smart had a lot of great things to say about him when we first asked him about Trevor a couple weeks ago when spring first started. So that is something that we're going to stay on top of and kind of keep our eyes on. But let's hear from Kirby as he talks about this team, as he talks about how spring is going, the adjustments they have to make at several positions, given that several players have left to enter the draft or that they're seniors. So let's see what he has to say about his team entering next season, but also while spring ball is going on.
So it's just a lot of new faces out there, and that's the biggest difference. But they're progressing well and practicing well, and we'll have our first scrimmage Saturday, and looking forward to that. We've got a huge coaches clinic going on this weekend. I think we got over 700 or 800 high school coaches that still enjoy coming to our clinic and get to enjoy that. That's a big piece of it. A lot of spring sports, the exciting moments going on. I know our women's swimming program's getting ready to have NCAAs, a lot of tennis going on, baseball, softball's doing incredible. So a lot of spring sports right now competing that we all can support as Bulldogs. With that, I'll open it up.
Coach, I think I saw Jamie Chadwell's going to come in, and I know every year you look at different teams and what they do. Are you guys looking at some Liberty stuff, and what is your relationship with Coach Chadwell?
I know Coach Chadwell really well. I think he's a great guy, great coach. We were lucky to be able to get him in here. Excited to get him in here. I think more than us studying them, there's a lot of high school coaches that try to implement philosophies he has on offense. There's a little bit of a option carryover, a new age offense in terms of the ability of the quarterback to run the ball, run option from the gun. They do a really good job of that. He's done that since Coastal and Liberty. So we try to gear our clinic towards benefiting high school programs in our footprint, and not just our state, but in a 5-hour radius. And he certainly does that, as well as Coach Fritz, who I have a lot of respect for. He's going to be at our clinic and be one of the keynote speakers, who did an incredible job at Georgia Southern, incredible job at Tulane, and now will do an incredible job at Houston. He's just a really good football coach.
Yeah, Coach, I think when we spoke to you during National Signing Day, you talked about how large your offensive line class was, and you mentioned how most of them have to lose weight or will have to lose weight. I'm curious if you could provide an update on it, if anybody's gotten down to that. I think it was the 330 mark you mentioned. Nobody had played over that for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I've recognized a large group of that group. That group as a whole has been tremendous at weight loss. I don't know if any of them are, maybe a couple are right at 330, but Nair's had the greatest loss, going from 396 to, I don't want to quote, so I don't know. I mean, he's lost 40 to 50 pounds, somewhere in that window. Daniel Calhoun's lost a tremendous amount. Easley's lost a tremendous amount. Uni has done a really good job there too. And Tolliver probably had the least to lose, so he hasn't had to lose a lot. He is having to play center, new position that he's developing at. But that group across the board, it's unique to have, most time mid-years you have 2 or 3 O-linemen. Having 5 is very unique. So, you don't really want all 5 of them there at once, because you get a recipe for disaster. But you got 5 players who are getting better a lot faster, and we've tried to integrate them into different parts of the practice, not all at once, because it's hard. It's the largest jump there is in all of sports to me, to go from a high school offensive lineman to a college offensive lineman.
Yeah, we'll get a chance to talk to Jalen Walker today. When you were recruiting him, how were you able to sort of build the trust level of you guys were going to be able to develop him as an inside linebacker, and making that move from a guy who played a lot of edge in high school to ultimately developing him as that inside linebacker for you guys?
Yeah, well, he played both. He played a little bit of what we call Sam Star, played out in space, and he did rush off the edge. He's still a really good edge rusher. He knows that was part of the development plan, because he had seen Quay do it. He had seen other football players in our program develop as an off-the-ball backer and an into-the-line backer, and he does both those things really well. He missed last spring to develop at inside backer. He's using this spring to springboard himself into a better all-around football player. But it was not a hard sell, because he's got wonderful parents, wonderful sibling. I mean, his dad is a college football coach, has been for a long time, and knows football. It's great and soothing to have a conversation with somebody that understands the development process, and nobody better than his dad and his mom to help him realize how far he had to go. But he has been on a journey, and he's much more than a football player. He's one of our best leaders on and off the field. In a lot of organizations on campus, he represents the student athlete the right way.
Yeah, mentioning the inside linebacker is kind of unique this spring without having Smile. Just what are your early impressions of this group that on the whole is fairly young?
Young. I mean, that's the first impression is a lot of youth there, a lot of reps. If the Raylan and CJ are way ahead in terms of play time that a second spring player, 'cause this is their second spring, would normally be. In a perfect world, we'd like these guys to be coming into playing time. That's not the case. They got thrust into it and had to learn kind of trial by fire. So the guys behind them are even younger than them. There's not, between Smile and the next guy, there's this big gap there. And I think part of that gap was created because the two young guys, played well and were good last year. And if you're sitting behind that, sometimes you start questioning what you should do. And the guy that's had a good spring so far has been Bowles. He's done a good job, and he's picking things up. He didn't get the benefit from his high school not letting him go mid-year. He didn't get the benefit of coming in with those guys, but he's just as good an athlete as those guys, and he's going to help us special teams-wise. He's learning the defense, and then the other three guys that are here mid-year are providing good depth, and they're learning.
Coach, I'm curious what you've seen so far from Trevor Etienne, and just wondering how much of a transition is it for him from a playbook standpoint?
Yeah, I think running back is one of the positions that you can pick up really quick. There's some similarities between our offense and theirs. A lot of the same runs, a lot of the same words in some cases. So he's not struggled to transition that part. I think getting comfortable in the offense. There's nuances. I've met with him about it, differences in the way we do things and they did things offensively that he's picking up on. He's very bright. Not going to be a problem for him. There's been some mistakes and things, but nothing that can't be corrected in terms of his effort and practice habits. We've encouraged him to give great effort, run the ball past the last defender, and he's a sponge. He's absorbed that. He's enjoyed getting pushed. He's enjoying the competition of that room because there's guys he's competing with within that room. So I'm very pleased with where he is and hope that he'll continue the trajectory he's on.
Yeah, Kirby, when we've talked to Brock Bowers in the past, he talked about wanting to set the example for the tight end room in terms of his work ethic, things like that. How have you seen Oscar Delp kind of try to take up that mantle as the elder statesman in that tight end room now?
Oscar's really physical. He does things his way. He's not Brock. He doesn't try to be Brock. He's a quiet leader similar to Brock, but he's really physical. He's tough. He knows the work ethic it requires. I mean, the guy's taken a lot of reps since being here. He's been durable, and he's doing a good job leading in that room, as well as Lucky is and the two young kids.
Coach, keeping on the transfers theme, ask you about the three wide receivers and kind of what you've seen from each of those guys so far.
Well, they've been a little banged up. Colby's been a little banged up. He's had an ankle, happened, I think, right before we started or right before we went on break. And so he's been able to practice some and do some things. He's actually gotten better with each practice, probably did the least any of his practices, the first practice, a little more the third practice, and then hoping today he's able to do some more. So he's very bright, transitions smoothly. Michael Jackson's shown up, made some plays, and so has London. London is really second year of college football. So I think a lot of times you take a guy in the portal, you would think of immediate rah-rah, Dom. Those guys had played in our conference a lot. London had played in our conference, but probably a young player that's developing. The other two guys are a little bit older, but very pleased with all three of those guys. I don't sit here and put expectations on top of people of having super high expectations. I want them to fit into our culture and buy into special teams and practice hard and learn how to practice in the spring, and then come back fall. They should be conditioned and smarter and be able to benefit us more, and each one of them's done that.
Yeah, we made some packages during the season. We have packages where he becomes the jack, for more rundown teams. He's a bigger body, longer body. He outweighs the traditional jack, so in the run game, he's a big asset to us. We try and keep to his strengths when he's out there. He was a DM before. We want to keep him on the edge. We want to keep him with his hand in the dirt and doing stuff that, pertains to his abilities. And, we asked him to drop, and he's done a good job doing that too.
Chaz, what do you think of the job that Jalen Walker's done between outside linebacker and inside linebacker, and just everything that's asked of him, kind of going back and forth between those two spots?
You know, it's a different mindset between both of them. You know, he does a good job of, keeping them separate in his mind, kind of. Because on third down, he goes down, becomes a jack, becomes an end. He's able to rush around nickel rabbit groups. And first and second down, he's grown and he's become a middle linebacker. And, he's starting to become a leader in that room. And also in our room when he comes over and pass rushes. He's done a great job with that.
Chaz, we hear a lot about the Georgia players developing because of the amount of talent that you guys have to practice against. So I guess I'll ask you to maybe do a brag on your tight ends. You get to work against these guys, going up against these guys in practice and having to get by them. How do they compare with other tight ends that you see throughout the season?
They're fast. Delp, Jaden, Lucky, they're probably the best route runners we go against. They might not be as big as other tight ends, but they have the technique to back it up. They get their hands inside. They get to your chest plate really easily. Coach Harley does a great job of teaching them how to use their strengths and, know their weaknesses and play to that. And we use them a lot in different situations than other people use them. Like, we run more routes with our tight ends. We don't stay in and max protect a lot. We give them the opportunities to showcase their talents.
How competitive those practices get? They were mentioning, I'm asking because Oscar talked about how competitive you are, how much you hate to lose those reps. So how competitive does it get out there?
Yeah, I claim to win every single run, and then Delp claims to win every single pass because, he's faster than me and I'm stronger than him. So it's kind of a switch off, and, it's always competition, and we both have our realms of what we claim to be our best attributes. I just don't like losing either one of them.
Yeah, Chaz, you've been kind of well known as a high effort guy. Your work ethic's pretty well established around here. Who's a guy you might go up against in practice or that's on the other side of the ball that you recognize as every time I see this guy, I'm going to get his best effort?
Tate Ratledge, Carson Beck, Ernest Green, and there's plenty others. Those are just the ones that pop straight to mind. Tate's always going to control that right side, no matter how it is. If he's helping the tackle, if he's checking any inside blocks, if you beat a tackle inside, he's going to help him. He's always going to be there. Ernest, he just always brings his A game. Obviously him starting last year every single game, he's one of our best tackles, and if you're going to win against him, you have to bring your best every single time.
Yeah, Chaz, just what have you seen out of Damon Wilson as he continues to grow, both obviously physically but also as a player as well?
I think physically he's grown a lot this offseason. Last year he weighed 230. This year he's weighing 240. Putting more muscle on his frame, obviously allows him to do more stuff in the run game, being able to set more edges. Mentally he's been able to take what we do as a defense and, expand his mind to not just pass rush but also coverage and in the run game doing stunts.
Chaz, this is the second straight year you've been that older guy in the room. Just how
All right, guys. UGA's football team, hard at work this spring, getting ready for the spring game. We'll continue to talk about the Dogs as we go, but really quickly, Atlanta United shut out at Toronto this weekend. So after 2 straight wins at home, they lost on the road. So they still have a road problem. This was big last year, and it looks like it's creeping into this season. The 2 matches they've played on the road, they've lost. The 2 they've played at home, they've won. They need to figure out a way to win at home. But that will do it for us for tonight, guys. Monday, March the 25th. The Sweet 16 is in a few days. Let's keep it going. We'll continue to talk hoops all week. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate it.